Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Um, I got another review for you today, but today it's not gonna be food. It's not gonna be a drink. Uh, it's gonna be a game review. A game review. Um, and I'm probably thinking to yourself, what game am I gonna review? Um, I'm gonna do a game review off of something recently I've played, and you've seen it on the channel. It is Destiny 2's Lightfall. Um, This was a DLC of high controversy. Very, very high. Also, we're gonna get two cats in the background as well. Those are the cat reveals. Um uh Anyways, I'm gonna talk about Destiny 2's Lightfall. I don't have any bullet points or anything. I've played through the entire game and everything, so on and so forth. But I'm going to talk about my thoughts and feelings on it. Uh First off, I want to start with the main thing that you're gonna do as, you know, a player in the Destiny 2 Lightfall expansion. You're gonna play the campaign because you're pretty much forced to, otherwise you're not gonna be able to level up. And before, I want to talk about something else that you're gonna see that goes hand in hand with the campaign, and you're gonna see it when you log in on your character if you bought Lightfall. There is these little yellow arrow boost things that are next to your characters. They're called character progression boosts or whatever the hell they're actually called. I'm not sure, but they skip the Lightfall campaign and unlock Strand for you and some other things. We're going to talk about that. That is $20 to do. Now, I haven't played Destiny 1, which was the prequel game to Destiny 2, and Destiny 2 is the sequel. In Destiny 1, there was something called a Spark of Light. And what that did was, boost your character up and everything. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the character boost was actually entwined with a DLC. So you bought the DLC, you get this, this, and this, and that was like added on in case you wanted to do a character to bring you up to where that campaign left off. Um, that is $20 to purchase that. $20 is steep, very, very steep for that price point. Keep in mind the DLC is $60, I think. The DLC is $60, and the content afterwards is worth $10. I'm talking about like the side season that comes with it. Like you'll get the DLC, which is 60 or 50. I'm gonna say $60. Um, Actually, I'll look that up real quick here. It is the expansion is $50. So $50 tack on a $20. That's a huge and steep price point for um Destiny 2. That's just for the campaign. So your campaign is $20. Um, is saying your subclass in your campaign is worth $20. Okay. So what of your game is worth $30 in this DLC? Nothing. Uh, I'm counting. I said $30 because there's the side expansion, which is usually $10. So you have a $20 campaign and subclass, and you have a $10 side expansion. So there's 20 extra dollars of I'm gonna be honest, not that great of content. It's something we've seen before. Um, the location, aesthetically, it looks great. It's like synth wavy, cyberpunk esque. You know, city. You can't go wrong with that. But the problem lies when you have a city that has absolutely zero actual people walking around. They're all in the cloud arc. No, dude, there's nobody there. It's desolate. If they would have added a campaign mission where you've evacuated like all the citizens, that would have been justified, and everyone like, yeah, we evacuated those citizens. We did that. Um, but there's none of those campaign missions. This is also going to include spoilers too. So, before I go any further, spoiler warning: if you want to play it and see it for yourself, click off. If you don't care, keep listening. subscribe if you're still here as well. But anyways, the campaign consists of actually like two missions that are essential to the actual plot of the storytelling of Lightfall. The rest of it is you fucking around with a green subclass. The subclass is all right. I'm not a huge fan of it, uh, because you know I don't really like the Warlock super. The Warlock super, it create you just pretty much like throw a bunch of green minions out, and then they either will do something or do nothing, and then come back to you, and you just have them. It does damage on impact of stuff, but it's something we've seen before. It's just green Nova Bomb. So if we're gonna go off of rating, that's like mid tier subclass. Um, the Hunters was cool. Uh, you do a big spin in the air. You have like a hook like Scorpion. Um, and also will and the I'll get to this in a minute, but the Titan subclass also is, it's melee focused. It's great for it's not melee focused. It's ranged and melee focused, and it's got great ad clear, um, but it's not really, crazy. It's not nothing to like, holy shit, watch out. It's not as revolutionary as some of the supers that the Forsaken DLC uh, has added. Now, granted, this whole subclass doesn't have all the aspects and all the fragments out. I mean, all the fragments are out, but the aspects, they're coming later. They're getting drip fed with more DLC that comes along the line. But for the most part, this subclass is a little lackluster. To me, it's not doing anything for it. Um, Grapple hook, because that's a big thing about the subclass as well. Grappling hook only feels good on only feels good on the hunter subclass or the hunter class. Warlocks and Titans, it doesn't really feel well because of the movement you have as a character. You have these burst and like kind of like slowly progressing jumps and everything, and not subtle and like abrupt like hunters have. Hunters have like three normal jumps, so if you just jump and then you can jump again and you can jump again, it feels good on the hunter class because you have that kind of quick mobility change. But in terms of Warlock and Titan, you guys do not have what I would say a good jump for that quick directional movement ability that the hunters have. I mean, and it's obviously that, I dropped my headset. Obviously it was uh intended for the hunter class, but they're like, we don't want to exclude this ability just to just one class, so we wanted everybody to have it, and it doesn't feel that good. Now we'll get to the campaign. Two campaign missions are like the only thing relevant in the story, and that's you actually going to Neptune, and then the other relevant mission is what happens at the end of Neptune. Everything in the middle does not need to be in the game. The entire time you screw around with the Strand subclass. Now, the Strand subclass, you would say, hey, it pertains to a great story. No, it doesn't. The Strand has no storytelling elements whatsoever. If I'm being honest here, they could have had no subclass, and this campaign, I mean, it would be a shell because all the campaign missions revolve around having this subclass, but it's not. It's I'm tired of going every mission. Use Strand, use Strand, use Strand. What are you still doing here? You're supposed to be using Strand. That sort of thing. I'm not a huge fan of that. I think that's really, poor and lazy. I get it. They're working on the other DLC, but I feel like I could go down to my local elementary school and commission a kindergartner to tell me a better story than Lightfalls. And another big plot hole and issue with Lightfall's campaign is, oh, hey, the Veil? You know what the Veil is. You are listening at home, you know what the Veil is. I know what the Veil is. You don't know what the Veil is. Yeah. They have a big, 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 big point about the Veil. Let me tell you all the things we know about the Veil. It powers a city and a network. That's it. That's the only thing we know. Oh, and the Witness wants it. Oh, I lied. Two things. But the big thing about the Veil is, oh, it's this paracausal entity that exists in this universe as well, and it serves an equal purpose as everything else. That's all you need to know. I feel like that's really not good storytelling. Um, you have an integral part of the story that apparently every character that references knows what it is, but you, the player, have no idea what it is. Um, and I've seen the takes of people say, hey, you know, they kind of want to, expand upon this veil later down the line and seasons wise. I think that's lazy. I think you had an opportunity to tell a story in one fell swoop and get us prepared and prepped and, excited for when final shape comes around. Now you're still telling a campaign that keeps going. Keep in mind, if you didn't buy the deluxe edition, you're not going to have access to those other seasons. So when they tell those stories that are in these other seasons that you have to pay for, that also ruins the momentum of it. Because if you spend $50 on this DLC and you have no answered questions, and you're not going to spend $10 on the next DLC, then you're still going to have unanswered questions until you pay up, chump. It's such a dumb and it's super dumb that it's thought out that way. I can't even believe that that's the route they went. They were more focused on a subclass than they were with the actual substance and story of the game. Um, and I'm fine with the campaign ending on a cliffhanger with what did the witness do to the traveler? I'm fine with that being open because I know there's another DLC that's going to explain it. At this point, I'm now nervous because they didn't really explain much. They just had a cliffhanger and said, see you in a year, and then now we're going to have to figure out all the answers ourselves. So, like, all the people that cover lore in the Destiny universe and community are going to have to blunt the force that Bungie neglected to do in the campaign. Literally, every person who's going to play this campaign, all the casual people that have, like, zero thoughts behind their eyes, are going to have to now either never know what this entity is until it's actually said in the game, or they're going to get interested and go look at the other things. Nobody, I want to know what's going on without having me to go watch videos about Destiny. If I was really interested in Destiny in the story, I would do that, but I am not interested. There was a story I played and went through that had zero substance, which makes me mad. So yeah. Next thing I'll talk about is the raid, because that's out now. What a pitiful, pitiful raid. Um, I've seen lots and lots of takes about the Lightfall raid, and like the Lightfall raid is much to be desired. It's called Root of Nightmares, and for those of you that don't know, there's a thing that Bungie does and Destiny does with their raids that they drop. Raids are a 6-player activity, and when they come out in day one, they have a raid race. And what the raid race is, and contest mode takes it caps you out at a low power so that you'll be challenged the entire raid, and then once you have that, debuff and that, modifier to the raid, you have to complete it before anybody else in the world completes it. And once you complete it, then you'll get the title of world's first, and you'll get a nice like WWE champions belt. This raid was not really challenging at all. I didn't do the raid on day one. I mean, I did, but I didn't. I did 2 encounters with contest mode activated, and then I went back a day later after contest mode and did the final encounter. This raid has 4 encounters and the same mechanic the entire encounter. There are some dungeons that are longer than this raid, and that should be telling you something. So yeah, this dungeon, or this raid, sorry, has 4 encounters that share the mechanic the entire time. 2 of the encounters in this 4 raid encounter have bosses. 2 of the bosses are pushovers. The final boss, Nezarec, the big bad that we've been hearing about, is not a big bad. He gets pushed over like a little soy nerd at school, getting robbed of his lunch money. Instead, he's getting robbed of his spoils of conquest. Yeah, the final boss in this big bad Nezarec gets bullied like a little chump on contest mode. Contest mode is supposed to be hard. This guy was not hard. He had a health pool of a spit drop. You could breathe on him and he would die. And the mechanic's not hard to figure out to get to damage phase. You have 2 people that shoot 2 items, and then they're like, alright guys, huddle up for damage. Then you huddle up for damage and stand on a plate, And then the boss is like, I can't touch them. They're 2 inches above the ground. I can't touch them. I'm just gonna slam my big stick down and try to get them as best I can, but I'm probably not. It's pathetic. And a lot of people shared their opinions about contest mode, saying that, thanks to all these new subclasses, excuse me, all these new subclasses makes the game easier. Uh, I think two factors that go into why this contest mode felt like super awful to be in was the raid had no substance, it had no neat encounters. Everybody compares it to the Last Wish raid because it's literally a pinnacle raid. It's got like 6 encounters, and all the mechanics in that raid are different. This raid has 4 encounters and shares one mechanic the entire time. There was no variation. As long as you knew how to do that mechanic, you were going to be fine to play that raid. And it was disappointing that they opted for such a lazy way to do the raid. It was a dungeon. It was literally a dungeon. Dungeons are known for sharing one mechanic throughout the entire activity. Raids are not supposed to be like that. So people were frustrated with that in contest mode. Other people were frustrated about contest mode being 48 hours. The challenge is supposed to be there. It's just extended a day. You're still gonna get the day one emblem, but people have work. People have places to be, and they do it on Fridays. So like you can come home from work on a Friday, and the raid got released at 12 o'clock. So you're gonna be behind on the raid race by 5 hours if you work at 9 to 5, assuming. So you'd be 5 hours behind. So they gave you the opportunity for, hey, you can play this Saturday, this weekend, when you have time, and not feel like you have to come home and hop right on this and not and decompress from your day. That sort of thing. So yeah, the raid was a little disappointing, and me doing it on contest mode, I feel like it's few things that if the raid wanted to be better, obviously change the mechanics of the entire raid, to be something different. I don't know, change it. I'm not the dev here. I'm the consumer. Like, and obviously what I'm consuming is subpar at best. What poor intern put this DLC together? So I don't know, change the mechanic in it, up the health pool on the enemies on contest mode, and when contest mode's over, their health pool drops, if that's even physically possible, and they're a million-year-old engine that they're running this game on, which has so many bugs, by the way. It has so many problems with, characters disappearing and not being able to commend people, which is a new thing that happened due to people not being able to load in. Another big issue they have with it is when you do too much damage in a short amount of time, the enemy you're shooting at heals because they're like, wow, you did a huge chunk of damage, but our engine couldn't register that, so we're just going to put him back to full health and you can try that again. That's awful for a game that is existing in 2023. Granted, Destiny's been around since 2014. Game's almost 10 years old. So, yeah. It's a little rough around the edges on the engine side, but they're probably not going to change the engine. Just got to accept that. But, what they are going to change is content and everything. And, after the Witch Queen campaign, this seemed like it was a wet fart. It was a wet fart indeed. I'll talk about the end game of it now, other than the raid. The patrol zone is dead. It's got a match-made activity, which is... well, not really a match-made activity. It's got an activity on their planet, and it rotates at 12 o'clock, or they changed that, but it rotates at reset, and it's alright. It's a horde mode, I guess. Meh. It's just meh. 5 out of 10 on that. And then you have mindless tasks that you have to do. Just like, hey, you want this exotic weapon? Well, hang out on our planet for 3 days straight, and then you'll get winter bite. Hey, you want the Strand pistol? Upgrade all of Strand. How do you get Strand? Use Strand. What's another exotic that they add? Here, want this LMG? That was easier to get because that literally came straight from the campaign, and you had to do a couple activities that were around it that were all different. Run to this lost sector, then run to this lost sector, and then you're done. Um, Pretty much that mission was I um but yeah, the patrol area and the mindless tasks after it are kind of meh. Uh the Strand, because there was another subclass that was released like this, a completely different subclass released. It's called Stasis. Stasis was terrible at upgrade. Whatever they did for Stasis was poor management and design choices of how they upgraded it. It's terrible. Um, Strand, fortunately, is a little better. Um, to upgrade Strand, you need Strand meditations. You get Strand meditations by defeating combatants with the Strand subclass. So it's passively going on in the background. Um, However, each aspect of Strand, each aspect of Fragment, I forget what they're called, but they're like the majority of what Strand's going to be based off of, are 200 meditations each. Now, I don't know how much you get in an hour. I know I feel like I play for like a good 2 hours. I feel like I could probably muster up, I'd say minimally 50 meditations, but you need 200 of them out of, I think, like 12 aspects. So you do your 200 times 12 there and see how much meditations and how long you're going to be using Strand for. Um, it's definitely better than Stasis, but if I really want to, and that's another thing, that Strand, despite it having the exact same like everything as all the other characters, you got to rebuy on every character. So take your 200 times 3, and there you go. That's how much meditations you need to unlock all of Strand, all of it, every ounce of it, to even use it on all 3 characters and be viable and functional and not have any missing pieces. Uh, and if you're a fan of Destiny, you've known this DLC has been beaten down like a dead horse for the last couple weeks now. So we're on week 3 of this DLC being out. 2 weeks after the DLC dropped from the main week, but 3 weeks of it being in rotation. But I'll tell you this: I really hope the next campaign is better. This was certainly a bit of a letdown and a bit of a like, ah, that sucks kind of feeling. Uh, Putting it on a score, Destiny 2's Lightfall ranks a 6 out of 10. Why does it get a 6 out of 10? Uh, well, they introduced a new subclass and a new destination. Those are like 2 points each, which leaves them at 4. They introduced the raid, 1 point, puts it to 5. Uh, the year's not over yet, and I mean the location looks nice and everything, and some of the things they've added with it, the exotic weapons felt pretty fun. Gets an extra point for, it's honestly gets the last point's a pity point. I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 out of pity. Because everybody ranked it pretty low before. So you get a pity point, you get a 6 out of 10. That's all I really got to say about this DLC. If you're interested in it, I guess you can buy it. Or you can buy it when it goes on sale or something. If I'm being honest, you're not missing much. It's a subscription based game pretty much. Every year you're charged a flat fee and then you play until the next flat fee. And if you don't buy everything all in one shot, you're going to spend $10 every 3 months. Along at the end of that year, you'll probably spend 50. So that's all I got to say. Oh, I guess I have to talk about the side mode, Season of Defiance. Season of Defiance is fine. It's going to be all strike based. They're pretty much just adding updated strikes to the game. That's all they're doing with these sub seasons. So I don't really care because the strikes we had in the game were pretty lackluster to begin with, and the ones that were super lackluster and and fun to run were now changed, and now I hate running them. So gets a 6 out of 10. Could have been better. Definitely could have been a lot worse, but 6 out of 10. That's all I got for that review. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. It means a lot. And bye-bye.